National HIV Testing Week in the UK and European Testing Week all across Europe as well.
Now, you work for a very interesting laboratory. Can you explain who you are and your name and what you do?
Absolutely. My name is Jennifer Brown. I lead the global business development for a Canadian company called Biolytical Laboratories. Biolytical has been an innovator in the world of diagnostics, more specifically with HIV testing, for the past 10 years. So we have a product that is the fastest HIV test in the world, with results in 60 seconds, that has been used across Europe and the world for over 10 years now, and is finally being actually adapted as a self-test to be able to allow people to use it not only in the clinic, but actually in the comfort of their own home.
I believe you're actually doing this at the moment solely on the internet. Why is that?
So we've actually launched online, the self-test product has launched online initially. We are pursuing pharmacies, but it's a process that takes time. So in order to not miss the opportunity to put the product in the hands of people as soon as possible, we are launching ourselves online first, as we're working with the various pharmacies to actually get it stocked and shelved in their stores. In France, we are available in pharmacies because they are all independent. It's a little bit of a faster process. So we are available in pharmacies in France and online at insti-hivselftest.com in the UK, with pharmacies to follow next year.
What's the rate of false positives, or is there a chance of a false positive?
Yes, absolutely. With any test, no test is 100%. Insti is quite as close as you could get to 100%. We call it over 99% accuracy for anyone who is familiar with the clinical terms. It has a sensitivity of 100% and a specificity of 99.8. What that means is about 2 in 1,000 could be false positive. So it's always important, whether it's this product, another product, whether it's HIV or any disease, it is always part of what's called an algorithm to conduct both a screening test and a confirmatory test. So it's important, whether, again, it's this product or another product, to always make sure to confirm the results, to confirm a positive result with your doctor or in a clinic.
From my own point of view, going to a HIV clinic, because I did it for an article some time ago, I went in and it was very, very, very intimidating to go to the STI clinic and then to actually go through the tests. How do you think this will actually benefit? Do you think it will actually get people actually going to the pharmacist or buying online, just testing for HIV?
So we can address those two things separately. First of all, the HIV self-test is really not meant to replace any of the available services, which are fantastic in traditional or conventional settings. What the HIV self-test is meant to do is really supplement that to reach the people that aren't going to present in conventional venues. So one of the issues with HIV testing currently is that a lot of people don't feel comfortable, whether it's because of confidentiality, stigma, or convenience, going to get tested, as you've mentioned, in a conventional venue. And currently in the UK, 1 in 5 people who are living with HIV don't know that they're infected. And those are often the people that are at risk, hard to reach, and aren't presenting for whatever reason in a traditional venue for testing. So self-testing is really meant to address those issues. And even if someone is comfortable, for example, going to an STI clinic to request the other STI test, there's something about HIV that unfortunately is still highly stigmatized. And so even if they're going in to get the other test, they may not feel comfortable actually requesting specifically an HIV test. And for that reason, that's why self-testing is a new strategy and a new solution for those people that may not feel comfortable actually requesting specifically an HIV test. Whether that reduces the inhibition to actually go in for the other test. We certainly hope so. The more we empower people to take control of their health, and whether that's through an HIV test or even, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, when it was a pregnancy test that was equally controversial, it's really become now the norm and destigmatized and empowering to actually do that test yourself in the convenience of your own home. And just as it is with pregnancy tests, it doesn't stop women to actually go in for prenatal care or go in for other reasons. It's only just the first step to really engaging people in taking control of their health.
Do you think that with all the misinformation out there, people are becoming blasé about HIV and other STIs? When I was doing my research for my last article, when I went to have a look at doing testing and what it was like to do testing and stuff, I found out a very shocking thing, that quite often the age group that is most likely to be infected and not know about it is actually a slightly older age group and not the young age group.
Absolutely. It's certainly something that we do see happening today, is because HIV is no longer in the news as this urgent or death sentence or something very dramatic, and we don't get exposed to the same information that we might have a couple decades ago, it's certainly something that may have faded away in the mind's eye, in the public eye of this sense of urgency or the consequences of HIV. On one hand, that's good. On one hand, it does, because people know now that HIV is no longer a death sentence, they may not take it as seriously. Unfortunately, it still is one of the fastest growing health concerns in the UK today. And so I think by bringing in new products like this, allowing people to actually take control and empower them to get involved in a conversation with HIV, whether that's testing at home or even public displays of testing, such as Prince Harry that got tested live, actually with an instant test back in July, really bringing to the attention that HIV is still a concern, it's still important to talk about it, and testing is really for everyone. And that's something that the biggest takeaway, I believe, for this testing week is really bringing it to the attention that it is still very important to discuss HIV. It's still an important and serious disease, but also it's no longer a death sentence, and therefore testing is for everyone, and the sooner you know, the sooner you can access treatment, the better the prognosis, the longer you can live a long, healthy life, and also the least that you infect people. So when you're on treatment, you're no longer infectious to others. So it is so beneficial, therefore, to test as soon as possible, and it is absolutely still relevant.
Now, that is something else about people being on treatment. Are they actually still infectious or aren't they? Because there's a huge dilemma about that.
If a person is actually on treatment regularly and has been able to virally suppress the virus, it's a fairly agreed upon consensus now in the scientific community that they are not infectious. In fact, one of the latest studies that came out, a very important one, had over 50,000 incidences of sexual encounters unprotected between serodiscordant couples. That means one person has HIV and the other person does not. And there was not a single transmission in that study. So more and more we're seeing quite a strong consensus around the fact that you are no longer infectious if you are actually on treatment and have you are virally suppressed.
Does that mean that they shouldn't actually disclose they've got HIV?
That's a very big subject, and in fact, I can't comment specifically on the UK. There are certainly the laws around HIV disclosure are changing globally. I'm not familiar enough with the UK laws to comment on that specifically, but I can say that generally in the world, the laws are changing in accordance with that research. Yes.
Do you think it's a good idea, though, for people to say they have got HIV to minimise any risk of contamination and transfer of the disease?
That's a big conversation that, as a manufacturer of a diagnostic kit, I'm not sure if I can comment in the best way possible, as I'm not an expert in that area.
Is it going to put people off buying the tests and testing themselves because they're worried and anxious about it?
I think that the person would benefit it and having honesty in a relationship if they're in a relationship with someone. As far as the risk involved, in fact, the riskier group of people are the people that are HIV positive and don't know it. Those are the people that we should be concerned about that are the most infectious, especially early in the course of infection. Those individuals that are infected and don't know it and that are early in the course of infection are responsible for most of the new infections today in the world. Therefore, it's really important to actually focus on making sure everyone gets tested, making sure that everyone that does get tested and is positive gets on treatment. Because once people are on treatment, that risk is so low, and as I said, pretty much nil, especially now with other inventions coming about. Medicine is advancing to such a degree that there is even something called PrEP, which you can take to prevent from acquiring HIV. That's a whole other conversation as well that I won't get into. But all to say that the people that we should be concerned about are not actually the people that know their status and are controlling the virus, but in fact the people that don't know that they have it. They are the most infectious, and they're the ones that we should be worried about, and the ones that we're trying to reach with something like the self-test.
Whereabouts in the cycle of HIV does your test actually come in? Does it actually pick up from day one, or do you have to be infected for X amount of time before it shows up?
So once an individual is infected with the virus, there are various reactions that take place. The first thing that you can detect is obviously the virus itself. Our test, as well as most tests, whether it's in a clinic or self-tests, do not detect at day one. The most earliest test that you could get is fourth generation, where you could detect at about 14 days in a clinic. With our test, you're detecting at about 21 days. So at 21 days is when you start producing what are called IgM antibodies, which are called the early antibodies. This is an advantage over the other self-test that's in the market right now, which does not detect the IgM early antibodies. What the other self-test detects is the IgG antibodies, which we detect as well. So in short, because we are what's called a third generation test, you can start seeing positive results at about 21 days after infection.
How does it work?
The test is a finger stick test. It's a blood-based test. It has been shown that blood-based tests are more accurate than saliva tests, hence why we've pursued that type of sample and that type of test. So it's a blood-based test, and it's as easy as a finger prick, which is the same as if you were to be testing yourself for diabetes or cholesterol. You would use a little lancet, obtain a drop of blood, and after that, the test is very simple. There are 3 bottles clearly labeled 1, 2, 3, and you just pour 1, 2, 3 right into the test membrane, and you will see right upon it adding the solutions. You don't have to wait at all. There's no wait time whatsoever. As soon as you pour in the solutions, you will either see 1 dot for negative or 2 dots for positive.
Do you have to go through any rigmarole of taking it to the chemist for special disposal or anything?
We provide an unlabeled, sealable, opaque polyethylene bag that's included in the test, which we call the discretion bag. So all you have to do is place all the components back into the box that's provided, including the finger stick accessories, any tissues that you might have used to clean up spills, and the solution bottles, and you put them into the bag. You put the items into the box into the bag, and you just seal it. You can throw it away in the normal trash with your household waste.
How easy is it for different age groups? Can it work on any age group, or is it just specifically for a set age group?
We have conducted usability studies for the test with a wide-ranging demographic. So even if you're a young adult or older person, individual, the test is suitable for any age range.
What is the overall market? Because at the moment, £25 is somewhat of a expensive thing for some people, but it depends what price you put on health. What is the market likely to be, and is the price going to drop?
The market is for everyone. The test is, like I said, for everyone. That's one of the things we try to encourage, is that it's not a certain demographic that we're trying to target. It's for anyone that feels that they have been put at risk, or anyone that wishes to routinely test themselves as part of their annual health check. The price point is fairly accessible to some people right now, but certainly could be prohibitive for others. We will see the market likely being more competitive in the future and therefore prices dropping. But for this time, I do believe there are some subsidized testing available through certain organizations. And it's something that we're always in discussions with government, whether it's in the UK and other areas as well, to make it accessible to everyone. And so whether it's a collaboration between public and private in order to make it more accessible, I believe that we will see that in the near future, and we have seen already some indications that that might take place. For the time being, we hope that most people will be able to afford it. If not, we certainly hope that it will become more and more accessible to everyone that needs to get a test.
In the UK, do you think it's, with the pressure on the NHS, do you think this is a very good idea, and do you think other STIs could be tested in a similar way?
It's a great way to address the growing concern with the NHS and the budget cuts. There's certainly a lot of burden that's placed on certain clinics right now that actually might not be able to offer testing to everyone that wants it simply because of wait times and budget cuts. So this is a great way, as you've mentioned, to offer some relief to the system by empowering the people that want to get tested to do it themselves and absorb some of the costs and actually do it themselves, so that the healthcare worker is not having to spend their time doing the initial screening, even though they will be involved in the confirmatory screening. Certainly, it would be something that would be a great solution for other STIs as well. I do believe that's something that we will see in the near future if it's not already available in some European countries. And just like pregnancy tests, just like cholesterol, diabetes, all these other tests that we're starting to do ourselves at the convenience of our own home. And it's something that we'll see certainly with not only HIV, but with other STIs as well.
Are you, as a firm, looking at other STIs as well? Or is it just HIV you specialise in?
Absolutely. In the UK market, we currently actually have another product that is not available as a self-test yet, but it is available in the clinics, and that is a multiplex that tests not only for HIV, but for syphilis as well. So 1 drop of blood, 2 results for both HIV and syphilis. We are exploring as well hepatitis C and potentially hepatitis B as well. So it's certainly something that we have in the pipeline on the professional side, and as time goes on and there's more acceptance of self-testing, it's certainly something we could consider bringing to market.
Is there any research in self-testing being done on things like chlamydia?
The difference with chlamydia, gonorrhea, and some of the other STIs is the sample type. So, for example, with syphilis as well as Hep B and Hep C, those are all blood-based testing. So, for a company like ours that already has a proven platform, the INSTI platform, which has been proven and conducted millions of times around the world, we certainly feel more comfortable continuing to develop products that can test for infectious diseases that are blood-based. That's where the markers are in the blood. That's something that would certainly be explored potentially by other companies or potentially by our company later on. But I can't comment on whether there are self-tests being developed that are urine-based or other sample types.
In the UK and throughout the world, there's a lot of people like me who are wimps. When we see a needle, we do a runner.
Mm-hmm.
Is yours actually disguised in any way, or do you actually have a needle?
With the INSTI test, you cannot actually see any needles. So what we use is a retractable lancet that all you can see, very safe and very comfortable, and all you can see is really a piece of plastic. And how you use this is you remove the safety tip, and you place a piece of plastic on the fingertip, and then you add pressure, and it does its trick. It does what it needs to do, and it retracts back into the device. So at no point are you actually seeing a needle, or is there any visual aspect of actually the procedure of collecting blood. It's really a retractable lancet, and you get to see anything but that plastic. It actually pierces your skin as you're pressing it down on your fingertip, but you don't actually see the procedure, which is kind of nice.
So it's very much like an insulin injection type of idea, or one of the other similar devices.
Right, exactly. So it's a fairly common device to have a retractable lancet that hides the needle, and that's not only for reducing anxiety, but also for safety as well. We certainly wouldn't want needles hanging around in our household waste, so it is important to have a safety lancet that's specially designed to not only make the blade invisible, but also hide it for any. It can't be used a second time. It's one-time use and disposable. So for safety and anxiety as well.
Thank you for your time. Where can people buy the product? And is there any other advice you'd like to give?
The product is available to buy online at insti-hivselftest.com and will be available in pharmacies next year. If you're vacationing across the English Channel, it is available in pharmacies in France as well and making its way across Europe. Other advice is to remember that HIV is no longer a death sentence, but it is still important. And 1 in 5 people that are living with HIV in the UK are not aware of their infection. And so it's important to get tested regularly, get your friends and family tested, and remember that whether it's negative or positive, it's going to be okay. Whether if it's negative, you know to continue practicing safe sex, and if it's positive, you know to go into your clinician, your clinic to receive confirmatory, and that treatment now has shown that you can live a full, healthy life, only if on treatment.
So it pays no matter what to get tested. Well, thank you for your time. Have a great day, and we look forward to hearing more about your product and services in the near future.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and keep an eye out for Dr. Christian, who will be making an appearance talking about the IMST test later this week.